Oh, Tim's back.
Thank you. I gotta buy a picture off Kathy because look,
Yeah, I know.
I got the tulips.
Different
Oh,
setting.
yeah. Oh, shoot, I was sending you that. I keep forgetting.
That was a nice touch by Cindy.
Yes. She was cleaning behind me because I switched spots. I have a little office space now, and I switched.
You all set, Chris?
Yep, you guys are 1 second. We're just connecting. Just takes a second. That's
Oh,
all.
Tim left again.
It's almost connecting.
We're on here, so.
Okay, and we are live on Facebook.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, April 28th, 2020 special Selectmen's meeting via Zoom. Tonight, we're going to start with municipal officers' business and/or public hearings, with the first being the town COVID-19 update. It's an update from the town manager first, and start with that and move on with a couple of other things as we go. So, John, it's on you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is update on Governor Mills's orders. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, she held a press conference with the CDC director, and that presentation she made is probably what is going to guide us over the next 3 to 4 months. She presented her plan, which is probably the most downloaded item right now. Basically, she has phased in the opening of the state in 4 stages. And I have not had a real good chance to read it. And I hope our town attorney and those members of the board that have read it thoroughly would jump in. But basically, it keeps the stay at home order alive. It extends her order from April 28th, when it had run out, to forward through the month of May. And on that, it is stage 1. In May, there is some relaxation. Instead of essential businesses that were listed in the prior order, essential businesses have been relaxed to include drive-in theaters, healthcare, which is from Maine licensed providers with recommendations that they prioritize care for patients, testing for COVID outbreaks. Outdoor recreation has been relaxed. Golf courses can open up with disc golf courses, guided outdoor activities, hunting and fishing, guided boating, 5 or fewer customers. Marinas can open up. Some 30 state parks and historic sites, but coastal sites will remain closed. State-owned public land trails, personal services, barbershops and hair salons, dog grooming, religious, limited to drive-in, stay in your vehicle church services, retail, commercial, auto dealerships and car washes will be open as of May 1st, as long as they have developed their plans to comply with their COVID-19 association rules and the state governor's rules that they are responsible for. So what we know is for sure there is still a stay-at-home order. The town's order of stay-at-home will lapse on April 30th. However, the governor's order takes precedence. Our order for lodging to close or remain closed is through May 15th. Lodging will remain closed under the governor's orders under this plan through May 31st. And then in June, it begins to loosen up in June. Restaurants can open, lodging open to Maine residents and out-of-state residents who have completed quarantine guidelines. This is June now. Outdoor recreation campgrounds, RV parks open to Maine residents and out-of-state residents who have completed quarantine guidelines. Day camps for Maine children, coastal state parks with some services, personal services, fitness and exercise gyms, nail technicians, retail, all retail businesses can open up in June.
And John,
In-
can I just interject just briefly, if I might?
Yep.
One thing that I think we got to be really clear on is that while this schedule is May, June, July, and August, the governor made very clear that it can change at any time if the data so requires. And also, she was very clear that while all of the entities and types of businesses that you had listed can start to open up, she's very clear that there have to be, and I'm using some finger quotes here, I'm looking at her, it's not an order yet, but the guidelines that say there must be appropriate safety precautions, and that it allows for some degree of opening of these kinds of businesses with reservations, capacity limits, and other measures. And so I think the thought here is that each of these entities need to work closely with the Department of Economic Development to come up with protocols and plans that would, be blessed, so to speak, that the protocols they have in place would be appropriate.
Absolutely. These establishments will have to comply with their association's guidelines for COVID management, as well as the state's guidelines.
There's also a newly required thing for wearing masks.
Yes, everyone will have to wear a mask in these establishments and when you're out in public.
Yeah. It's a newly requirement, yeah.
So we have not seen the orders. These are guidance outlining her staged reopening of the state.
I would add that in listening, what Leah said was true, but I would look at it also on the positive side, that it could, if things go well, it could speed up the phases. I would look at it both ways. It could delay the phases if things don't go well, but if it goes better than expected, I think it could speed up the phases. Am I correct on that, Leah? Or that's the way I took it, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess we know that Tim Roach is an optimist now. You've got the glass half full for sure.
I'm trying to be. It hasn't been that easy lately, but I'm trying.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, and I think that what they were trying to emphasize, I thought, was that it's all data specific, and they'll be tracking the metrics very intensely and making decisions based on that. And John, I didn't mean to steal your thunder because I don't think you got to stage 3 when it came to July and August.
Well, stage 3 is what we're looking at is we can go out and have drinks at bars. Lodging such as hotel, campgrounds, summer camps, or RV parks for Maine residents and visitors will be open. Administration and developing guidelines for potential testing requirements to assist them in safely reopening, and reservations should not be taken until those guidelines are issued. Outdoor recreation, charter boats, excursions, fewer than 50 people. State park campgrounds will be open. Summer camps will be open. Personal services, spas, tattoos, piercing, massage facilities.
John, excuse me. John, could you hang on a second? Can we check to see where that background noise is coming? Because did you just take care of that, Joanne?
I can hear John twice. That's why I just.
Yeah, it's somewhere at the town hall, John. Is there another audio on somewhere?
Okay. Are we still getting that?
No.
Oh, it's better now.
Very good. And other personal services are available in July. So we have a phased-in approach. Many unanswered questions right now. We'll be, I'm sure when the orders are developed, we'll be having a better conversation than what we can have right now on these things. So to tell the public, I think our lodging is closed through May. Our stay-in-home order will be removed for us, as in what the Board of Selectmen did will end this coming week. But the stay-at-home order for the governor is through May, and that has been lowered in what can happen, has been decreased in activities that can occur in May. So personal services and the other things I mentioned can happen in May if those establishments complete their COVID-19 plans. So if there's nothing more on that, on the short-term rental registration program, we had a second presentation of the host program that is a subscription service that will make available to the town of Wells a management program for short-term rentals. It will require an ordinance that Leah has taken time to work on. I did email to the Board of Selectmen that late this afternoon. But clearly, short-term rentals has been one of the things that has come out of this COVID-19 situation where we do not know where they are. We do not know how they're operated. We know that there are 566 of them as of April 1, and we expect there are many more during the height of the season. This program is one that will automate much of the registration program that is spelled out in the ordinance, that will lessen the manpower required, but there still will be quite a bit of manpower to oversee the program and make sure that things are operating correctly. And so what we would like to do this evening is to make sure that the Board of Selectmen are on board with us moving forward with not only the ordinance, but in moving forward with the program, in making sure they are aware that over time we will be probably a subscriber of their services. In checking with the city of Portland, Portland uses this service as part of a three-leg approach to their management of housing. Of course, they have 18,000 units that they have to manage and inspect. And this program is the front end of that triad. South Portland also has this program. We are trying to speak with someone there on it. But overall, I think we had not only Leah sit in, Jody sit in, we had the Chamber of Commerce sit in, we had Lafayette Hotel sit in. We had about a dozen people on the Zoom conference. And I think, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think we were all impressed with its capability, with its ability to reach out and ensure that they can detect these sorts of short-term rental situations in our community. So what we would do, if the board is willing, is to schedule some public hearings or a public hearing for the ordinance as early as tonight for the May 12th meeting, if the board felt comfortable, and engage in the company and let them know that we are at least moving forward in getting the ordinance in place, and that it is likely that we would join with this firm. This firm, the cost to subscribe is not cheap. It is based on a per parcel or per short-term rental, and it's around, it's between, we have different options to buy or subscribe to, but it's going to be at a minimum $40 a parcel to $60 a parcel. And so those things will need to be ironed out. They offer a 3-year agreement on the 566 short-term rental April 1 count at a 10% discount. So these are things that we'll need to talk about in the near term, but we wanted to gauge the selectmen's willingness to kind of move this forward.
You have a go ahead from me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea.
Same here.
So you want to establish it, you want to set up a public hearing? Is that what you want to do?
Yes, yes. And I think the documents, if you have them, you could do it now.
That's what I was looking for, the date of May, when,
12.
May 12th? 12th. At the Little Phil meeting room or Zoom, whichever comes first. Okay, I move to have a public hearing on, but what is it technically on? I mean, what's the thing that you want to say it's about? Just having a,
It's
what's it called?
It's the Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing via Zoom video conferencing to consider an ordinance entitled "An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 150 Licenses and Permits of the Code of the Town of Wells to extend occupancy." I apologize. I picked up the wrong one. I need to put my glasses on. Yeah, here we go. I'm sorry. The Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing via Zoom video conferencing to consider an ordinance to amend Chapter 150 licenses and permits of the Code of the Town of Wells to require the licensing of short-term rentals. Members of the public may access the public hearing via Zoom video conference and we'll put the link there. So the motion is that on May 12th, the Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing via Zoom on an ordinance entitled "An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 150 Licenses and Permits of the Code of the Town of Wells to require the licensing of short-term rentals."
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, thank you.
And you're authorizing me to sign that public hearing, correct?
Yes. Do we have to make a
Yes.
separate motion for that? That's good. No, that's part of it.
Yeah. Thank you. Reopening of the community, discussion of concerns and ideas from the business community, and also town hall. We talked last week of the good memo that the chamber put together from her members. We received some other emails from other businesses that pretty much said, be careful, take your time, but when you reopen, reopen. And so that came from a couple of restaurants, that came from a campground. I think they're all saying the same thing. We don't want to be wide open and then have to shut down. And I think the governor is saying that also. If this virus kicks in again, it will be problematic for everyone. What we have done at the urging of the Board of Selectmen, the town manager group in York County has reached out to its counterpart in New Hampshire, and we are talking on a weekly basis to try to jointly manage the reopening of the beaches in our two states. It's a little bit difficult in that New Hampshire is a governor's order of shutdown, and the towns in Maine are individually ordering the closure of the beaches. So we are meeting tomorrow, and now that we have guidance from the governor, I'm sure we will continue our discussions on how we can jointly move forward in getting the beaches scheduled for reopening.
On the reopening piece, before we get to the beach piece, I just wanted, because I wanted to go back to what you said, and I appreciate what is the idea of businesses becoming part of the idea of opening, and the chamber did a good job. But from what I could see when I went on the chamber website, many of our businesses aren't represented by the chamber. So I would ask that if you have ideas that you email, if you're watching, or if we could put something out, because I don't want a business thinking they didn't have a say in when we're allowed to reopen. Please remember, we didn't make these decisions. This is the governor. But when we're allowed to reopen, that they also have a say on how we reopen, not just the chamber of businesses. I just want to make sure that all are represented if they want to be represented in some way, because I think it's looking at the numbers, there's quite a few businesses that are not in the chamber.
You're correct. The next piece I'd like to talk about is the reopening of our town facilities. We've spent a good deal of time working with the department heads and coming up with an internal plan to review the opening of our facilities. And basically, a lot of moving parts still. We've put a plan together, a written plan that was reviewed today by the department heads. It talks about sanitation, hygiene. It talks about the cleanliness of each facility, how many times it will be cleaned. It talks about safeguards. We've ordered shields, plexiglass, acrylic, and we received a great donation from Rome, Cyro, up in Sanford. They came in, measured all of the facilities, town hall and library. And so what they didn't cover, we have ordered from a vendor in town, and that is being installed. It started to be installed today and will be finished by Friday. We are also We have also purchased a large staging tent for the end of Town Hall, the back door area, so that folks can stage coming in. When you look at the governor's order, prior orders of how many people can be in how many square feet at one time, the public, you are really confining what you can do at Town Hall in a safe manner. So what you're talking about is 2 people in the general office area where you register vehicles, 1 person in the town clerk's office, 1 person in the code enforcement office, and 1 person in the assessing office. So what we are doing is looking at a scheduling program, an appointment program that is a subscription that people can go online and schedule an appointment at Town Hall for whatever service they might need. With that said, what we want to do and are doing right now is putting together all of the online services and documents that we have available and could make available to people and centralizing it onto our website. What we want to do is promote people not coming to Town Hall if they can do something on their own online and be able to get served in that manner. Jody did an exercise last week on car registrations, and we have unfulfilled registrations of people in Wells from late February through April and now into May of around 4,200 registrations, car registrations. 4,200. So if you heard me before say that we can only do 2 people in that general office, that's a long line. And so that's why we are close to signing up on this appointment program, but also working very diligently on trying to get all the online services possible. We have also put in the parking lot by the center door a drop box where people can come and drop off their tax payment, drop off any application, their business license, anything that they would need to come into Town Hall to do that is completed, they can drop off in the box. We do not want any cash in the box. We ask for checks or whatever, but no cash. The box is, we've reconstituted the old drug box that was in the drop-off box that was in the lobby of the police station. It's built like a bank vault, and it's outside. So we have tried very hard to look at each office, each department. The library is involved. For example, in the library, you can only have 15 people in the library. And what they're looking at is trying to indicate to the patrons how much time they might have in the library, because you want to get a circulation going there. Likewise, we've been working with the rec department on their opening and what they can do at their facility and at the harbor. So we're not leaving out any facilities. We're including the Chamber of Commerce because we contribute heavily to that operation. And their information bureau is pretty much what we fund from town hall, from the town. So what we have also done is to work through Jody's office to automate our beach sticker program. And Jody, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Mr. Carter and members of the board, so we are in the final stages of getting the online sticker fulfillment center up and running. I have one more meeting on Thursday to get some more training on that. So our residents and taxpayers would be able to access this program to obtain their beach sticker, and the fulfillment center would actually be mailing the sticker to the taxpayer. So they would not have to go to town hall. The only thing is, it is credit card only payments, but there is no fee for using the credit card passed off to the user. We've got it set up that taxpayers should be able to go on using their parcel ID and the last name from their tax bill to access their accounts and create accounts and request beach stickers. Those that are that have issues, they'll be able to contact us at town hall, and we can update and get them in the system so that they could then continue the process. We will also be rolling out instructions within the next day or two, so that starting in May, we can start issuing beach stickers by mail and through that same process. But we are encouraging anybody that is able to use the technology and is familiar with computers and everything to use that online fulfillment center. They have the bulk of our inventory for stickers, so it will be a lot better for town hall staff if you're using that process.
Thank you. And then lastly, we are trying to get enough supplies and PPEs for our individuals working at town hall and at the other departments so that we feel comfortable enough to reopen. And that reopening date is a moving target, obviously. We want to do an orientation for our employees at town hall. And I think in the other departments like library, we'll also have orientations. We are wanting to make sure that our employees feel comfortable because we are on a daily basis talking to those at home, those that have concerns, and this is has to be a two-way street. These employees are vital to our operation. If they feel uncomfortable working in this environment, we have to do everything we can to ensure their safety and the public's safety when we open. So,
Anything else on that, John? You want to move on to the We Are Wells campaign?
why don't we move on to We Are Wells? I think Brittany's with us. Do you have a total?
Yes. So far we are at $5,153 raised from the Wells community.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Can I just bring up a little question of a COVID thing? I know you're not going to really appreciate me asking this, but we're right now, because we were locked in the homes and you couldn't do different things, but now looks like we can go out a little bit and maybe go to different venues. Can we reopen the people that can park at the parking lot?
Who are you asking that of me?
Yeah, to you or to, I mean, we would do it, but I'm asking in general to everyone, would we at least consider it? Or do you want to have to wait another week? But I mean, that's something that, instead of just driving through and no tailgating, I mean, obviously that couldn't happen anyway. They're not supposed to do that in gatherings.
We didn't close the beach parking lot, so we had the.
That was the governor's.
No, but the reason why we couldn't stop and park there was because there was a lockdown on where you could go. It was supposed to be purely stay at home, and unless it was totally essential trips, you had to stay at home. So therefore, you were at the beach type of thing. But if you can go to the drive-in theater, or if you can go to, a drive-in religious ceremony, then why can't we, if we stop for a few minutes and eat your lunch looking at the ocean at the beach, can we at least take that no stopping sign down? I would.
I think after
May 1st.
Yeah, after May 1st, is that the consensus of the board?
I like it. I mean, the beach is still closed for now. I think you've already said you're in contact with other towns trying to figure out
Stay in your car,
how we're gonna get on to the beaches, right, eventually. Sorry, I'm getting feedback from somewhere. But so in my mind, I agree with Kathy on that. I don't see the difference between going to a drive-through movie and sitting in your car and going to the drive-through beach and watching the water or seeing the seals or whatever. I don't see the difference. Again, after May 1st, because that's the date that this new order comes into effect, or if I'm correct, Leah, I think that's the date, May 1st. So,
It'll be Friday.
I mean, if you're just sitting in your car, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the legal. I think you have to read the governor's thing, but in my mind, I don't see the difference if you went to a drive-in movie or a drive-in beach, looked at the beach, but that's
Right, or church in a car, so.
My opinion on this, I hear where you're coming from, and I know people are getting cabin fever. I'd like to get what the governor, a little bit more information, to ask Leah, and then wait for John to have the conversation with the managers up and down the coast.
I'm not asking to open the beaches. I'm asking that we can sit
No, I
at.
understand that. No, I understand we're not talking about the beaches, but at the same token, we want to keep uniformity with the other towns. And I think having John have the conversation. Is there anything, Leah, that precludes us from doing that now, in your opinion, with what you've got for information from the governor's message today?
No, not, well, now at this moment, no, because as you said, it's still in effect until April 1st.
May 1st, right, May 1st,
Right.
yeah.
But I will say that looking at this, we're all trying to digest this, reopening plan, but it's not an executive order yet. And my understanding is that in this press release, she said that she was going to be issuing an actual order by Thursday. So while this is guidance, I don't think it has the force and effect of a executive order at this point. But I hear what you're saying about at least the kinds of things that are contemplated, that sitting in a parked car is analogous to sitting in a parked car at a church or at a drive-in or wherever.
Yeah.
But I don't, this, when I'm saying this reopening plan and the things that she's discussed today don't have the force and effect of an order yet.
So what does that mean? That we can't do it on May 1st until she does it? So once she says it, we could do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'd like, I know I'm hedging a bit, but what I haven't seen is an actual executive order. And as we've been discussing all along, one of her executive orders, and be clear, she did say that everything that she's doing in this, this reopening plan is based on her prior executive orders. And what she did say, as we've talked about a lot, is that nothing a town does can be less restrictive. So I would feel more comfortable actually seeing what her executive order is out on Thursday before we say that opening the beaches would somehow be, is not more.
The parking.
Not opening the beaches.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I totally misspoke. The parking lot at the beach.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that by doing so, we're not, running afoul of that preemption thing where she says that.
So let's make a point to revisit next meeting after the actual order's out. We can make a decision then.
Yeah, we can wait till Tuesday. It's not like it's 3 days, but May 1st, so it's,
Yeah, I think we just need clarity because then we have to get the chief involved in regards to what we're going to allow and not allow. There's no wiggle room here. It's going to be okay to do. And we give her the direction as to what we're going to enforce and not enforce.
Right. Because right now, I don't see how you can enforce it or not enforce it.
And
Well,
again, a lot of it, and thanks for bringing it up, Kathy, a lot of it depends on, hold on just a second. A lot of it depends on what the order says, and, you know, we're bound by the order, just like you guys, and we'll go from there. You know, again, I'm just starting to read it now. I haven't had a
Now,
chance to
I know,
listen.
you have to read through it, right? I haven't read all.
Exactly. It's not, I listened to some of it today, but, and again, you know, it's, you got to do what's best for everybody, not just the collective few. So that's how I have to look at it. And,
Well, everybody
And you
wants to
guys
be able
too.
to get back to,
oh, don't, I know.
so I'm speaking for everybody.
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
So,
we'll do it
so
Tuesday
next-
night.
yeah, next Tuesday night, we will also have an update when we think we can open town hall and the other facilities. And I just want to remind people that lodging is closed through the month of May. The town order is through May 15th, but the governor's order overrides will take its place after May 15th. So I know people, I have probably 20 to 30 telephone calls every day from seasonal lodging folks that want to come up and do everything we talked about last week, from mowing lawns to checking their facilities to just getting out of their house down wherever they're from. And the answer is still no. You cannot do that. And we do apologize for being this negative, but you can't just drive up here and expect to do those things without some issues occurring. And it's 14 days of quarantine if you have your own facility up here on a single family house. If you're in a lodging facility that is based on density, for the reason you are licensed as a lodging facility, that is governed under the orders, and you cannot come up here.
would it be helpful to explain, and Kathy, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to say you're the oldest, but you've been around the longest, I guess.
I probably am.
But how that came about, so that people maybe that have rebought in these places or whatever, who maybe don't understand how that became lodging, not necessarily their house or second home. It's lodging to us. If you don't want to do it, I'm fine. I'm just.
No, I don't. I thought I explained it last week too, but this is good. What happened was back when we were, actually there was an overbuilding at the time, and everyone was concerned about it. So they had sort of a hesitant moratorium on growth at the time. And so there was a limit to what people could build on residential properties. So for year-round dwellings. So what happened, there were people that came in and got commercial permits, which were allowed during that time. And they built what would have been a lodging facility or a motel-looking building with multiple units in it. And that was fine, because with a commercial, you don't need the density because people are living in there year-round. So it's just a temporary housing, and it was a motel. So they were building it, and then all of a sudden they started selling the units. It was the first time we had ever looked at that. They started selling the units as individual condominiums, that would have been year-round residential properties. And so when, in a time when you were limiting the number of growth permits for residential properties, and you have a motel that had 30 units, and they were applying for 30 residential condominiums is what was happening. And they were selling them. We had no ordinances or anything to address it at the time. So the only way we could look at it seriously was their permit was for a lodging facility with that kind of units, that kind of density, with only with no residential growth permits being allowed on that site. Therefore, if they were to sell them, they would be treated as a lodging facility. That means they would fall under all the guidelines, the categories, that ordinances that we have, that they only could be open so many months out of the year, that at some point at one time, all of them had to shut their water off in the wintertime. No one could live there and use it as a residential place to live, and they couldn't register their car, say, or they couldn't go to school, have their kids stay there and go to school. So it was just a lodging facility. They had to actually they had to agree to rent their units out in a motel pool, and there would have to be an office there, and it would have to look, smell, and act like any other motel, except they would be owned individually. And that's how that whole thing came about, and it actually took off. People loved it. They really liked the idea that they owned their own unit, and that's where all the condominiums came into play. That's probably one of the reasons why we were one of the first places that did that. But that's why they're considered lodging.
And if we didn't do that, maybe you said this and I lost it in your conversation, but they never would have been built.
No, they would not have been built, because the only way they were allowed to be built was as a commercial motel lodging facility. Because at that point, or anytime, you can't, you look at a motel, you would never be able to put that many dwelling units, year-round residential properties on that site and have it be illegal to our ordinances for land density for building. But anyway, it would have been illegal to be anything but a lodging facility at that time.
Thank you.
Does that make sense? Okay.
It does. Thanks, Kathy. Moving to good news, John.
Good news, we have a couple of items. One being our former seasonal worker, Butch, did an awesome job in volunteering to build 4 picnic tables at the harbor facility. They're now located on the Maine pier. These are replacement picnic tables, and they look great. And I want to thank Butch for doing that work. And we've had a couple of letters of appreciation for him doing it from the Harbor Advisory Committee.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
That was nice of him. Thank you, Butch.
Anything from the board members? Okay, moving on to open to the public. We've slated 10 minutes for this. I'm going to expand it to a 20-minute opportunity for folks to write in their questions. I'm sure Brittany is correlating quite a few of those questions now. So we're going to go to about a 20-minute session, and then we'll take some more questions while we're doing regular town business and go open to the public again a little bit later. So Brittany, I'm sure you have a couple of questions there.
Yes, there are lots of questions. It seems there's a lot of confusion still on the phased approach that the governor spoke about today. Particularly, there are a lot of questions about when seasonal owners can come back into their homes, and if they come back in quarantine, when is that date that they can come back? Lots of questions on that. Still not clear to folks.
The requirement from the town of Wells is that lodging is restricted, cannot open through May 15th. The governor's order today, it's not an order yet, but she's heading in the direction of extending a stay-at-home order through the month of May. And lodging is included in that. Lodging is addressed in a reopening in June. And that is what we'll be looking at as we go through this.
There's a question here. Governor Mills made the seasonal campgrounds sound like it'd be opening July 1st. Why are we saying June 1st? What's the reason for the difference there?
I didn't say, I apologize if I said June 1st. I said lodging of the campgrounds have been taken out of the lodging, and as you just said, July 1st. That is something we're going to have to look at. We'll have to work with the Maine Campground Association and try and figure this out.
John, can I jump in for 1 sec?
Yep.
I think it's fair to say that given that the governor's press conference didn't end until 4:30, we're all scrambling to kind of make sense of this. So I think what is really important is to acknowledge that we're all trying to navigate through this, trying to figure out exactly what this means. I know the governor said that, you know, they'll be issuing more information, checklists and that kind of thing. But I do see how there could be some confusion about lodging and campgrounds, because in one place under stage 2, which is commencing as of, and she says tentatively, being very clear that tentatively beginning June 1st, that one of the categories of uses that may be able to open with all of those safety precautions are lodging and campgrounds. But it says specifically and only for Maine residents and those who have met the 14-day quarantine requirement. Now, I would anticipate, I'm sure, that one of the questions would be, well, can I come to my campground and quarantine there? I think that the answer to that is unclear, but arguably under one of the previous executive orders, and that's on Executive Order 34, which established the quarantine and the traveling restrictions, the only time you can quarantine in one of these lodging operations, which includes RV parks and campgrounds, is you can only self-quarantine there if it is, and I'm using quotations, as arranged by the state. So unless your quarantine is arranged by the state in one of these lodging units, then I think that you may not be able to do that. And so for the June 1st openings, any lodging and campground for Maine residents and those who have met the 14-day quarantine requirement, I don't think you can quarantine in the lodging unit.
And then people are asking, so in that case, do they have to wait until that July 1st date to come up to their facility?
I really think it's too early to give you a definitive answer on that until we see the orders and can make some sense of it. I would stay tuned on all of this, but you cannot come up in May. That's for sure.
And it does say that only July and August is for visitors. That's when it's starting for visitors. The June 1st really is limited to Maine residents and those who have already met the quarantine requirement.
All right. There's a lot of questions about what is considered a lodging facility. Are homes that are owned considered lodging? And if maybe we could reiterate, what that means.
Do you want me to field that one, John?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. If we're looking at the town's definition of lodging facility, I'm just reading it, okay? Includes hotels, motels, bed and breakfast, small inns, seasonal cottage complexes, and housekeeping cottage complexes. That is what a lodging facility is under the town of Wells. And so the order that is in place that has been extended through May 15th applies there. I would say that the governor's definition of a lodging operation and accommodation is very similar and even broader, okay? It says that it includes hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, inns, short-term rentals, such as those available through VRBO, Home Away, Airbnb, and other services, parks for recreational vehicles and campgrounds, and all public and private camping facilities. And so arguably that's even broader than the town's definition.
Okay. Can the community receive credit on lodging fees due to not being allowed to use their seasonal units?
If you're talking taxes, if the person is talking real estate taxes on their facility, the answer is no. If they're renting a facility and cannot use it, or own a facility and cannot earn that income, the answer is they need to check with the ownership or condo association, but there is no rebate from the town of Wells.
Another clarification, I think, to what you were talking about, Leah, is there a distinction between those who live here for 6 months versus people who visit just for the season, and people don't have other places to stay for those 6 months that they're here? Are they considered lodging as well, or is that are they in a different category? Is that right? Is that clear?
Maybe or maybe not. I'll try my best though. I think we need to look at the definition of lodging facilities, right? What I read to you before under the town's ordinances, and also what the governor says. I don't think that the definitions are what they are. And also, the governor's this reopening plan talks about Maine residents, okay? The determination of what is a Maine resident is very fact specific. So just because you come for 6 months doesn't necessarily mean you're a Maine resident. And there's a definition in statute that talks about many different factors that you'll have to look at. But that's not something, it's very fact specific, and we can't answer that question individually.
Thank you. We've answered this, but just to reiterate it, can people come to their seasonal home to do yard work, damage repairs, etc.?
No.
Will taxes be waived since we can't use the things we pay taxes for? That's the question.
No.
We already discussed this, but to reiterate, lots of questions on the beaches. When will the beaches open for walking and visiting? And, back to that parking lot question, there was still some confusion there. Can you sit in the parking lot and look at the beach?
At this time, there is no stopping within the parking lot. We are going to revisit that next Tuesday night. The beaches are closed from Kittery on up to Kennebunkport. The towns that have these closures are working together and working with the coastal towns in New Hampshire with similar closures to try to jointly put a plan together to reopen the beaches that will comply with our state recreation guidelines that the governor has just put out, but also so that everyone is doing the same thing and can control it much better than when we started into this whole virus process.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, can we open the beaches just to residents?
We will certainly take that into consideration in our talks with the other towns, but we'll talk about that, but that may be somewhat difficult to do.
There were a few questions on masks. One is asking whether or not the mask requirement is everywhere in the state of Maine or just in certain areas. And the other question we received is whether or not masks are needed in any building, or if it's just outside, or, where are masks needed and what's the requirement there?
John, do you want me to, I can just read
Yeah.
the governor's
Go ahead.
reopening. At this point, again, we don't have an order yet, but what I am reading from is this reopening staged protocol. It also newly requires that Maine people wear cloth face coverings in public settings where physical distancing measures are difficult to maintain, and continue strict requirements for long-term care facilities. So I know that that's not particularly helpful, but I think it doesn't mean that every time you're outside, you must wear a face covering, but rather when physical distancing measures are difficult to maintain. So in those busier grocery stores, indoors, that kind of thing, or even arguably outside if you're having trouble maintaining that 6-foot distance.
A couple questions about enforcement. How can the town enforce and track those who have completed that 14-day quarantine? And also, if and when lodging reopens, if guests do not comply with quarantine and people in the community get sick, is there any type of liability there?
The answer is enforcement is tough. I think the CDC throughout the country is moving towards contact tracing, testing. Those sorts of things may or may not come to Maine in a large volume, but we hope that people will quarantine and live up to the regulations around quarantine and not expose themselves to people in their general area.
Are owners of RV parks eligible for care funds?
You would need to talk to the delegation, federal delegation, Senator Collins, Senator King, and the Small Business Administration.
There were a few questions about information access. One is there a list of all lodging facilities in Maine? And if so, where can that be found?
I would start with the Bureau of Tourism in Augusta. And then if you're interested in the campgrounds, there's a campground association in Maine. Those have lists. Town of Wells has knowledge of its lodging facilities and campgrounds, but I'm not sure if there is a central list in the state, but I'm sure the lodging associations do have those lists, and they may be public.
And there were a few people inquiring about where to find the governor's phased approach document that was released today.
MaineGov.org, I think, isn't that how that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Google's Governor Mills.
Okay. And forgive me for jumping around with questions. I was just documenting them as they came in. There was a lot of talk about the small businesses that will be hurting from this, especially in the coastal towns. Is there anything that the town can do to help or mitigate, the financial hurt that they will fall under?
I think we certainly need to look into what we can do, because there's a large portion of this town's businesses that are going to be hurting very, very drastically due to this restrictions that have extended out throughout most of the summer.
With the beaches being closed, are there any efforts to clean up the beaches in this time, especially with the seaweed? And people were requesting that this should be a good time to do that. Is there any plan to do that?
Public Works will be mobilizing on putting down the seasonal mats on the right-of-ways. They'll be getting their seasonal hires out onto the beach with spotters for the pipe and plovers to do the raking. But we've had some significant storms in the last couple of weeks, and there'll be another one Thursday and Friday of this week, and I'm sure early in May. So that cleanup is a continual sort of thing, but each storm brings in all sorts of different debris that will need to be removed. And so it's a continual operation, and it scales up as we go into May and towards Memorial Day.
And let's all remember that it is illegal to remove the seaweed from the beach. So the people telling us we need to get rid of it, we can't, that's illegal, and our beach would be shut down permanently if we do it, just like they threatened Algonquin. We can put it back into the ocean, but we cannot remove it from the beach.
Yeah, and that's what we do. What we do is remove the logs and debris that comes up that floats in from the ocean. But the seaweed is moved down to the low water line, and it's moved on through the tides and currents.
Brittany, why don't we take one more question, then we'll move, and then you can take in and correlate all the next round of questions while we do some town business.
Yep, absolutely. So there's one more question I'll ask about taxes. And for those asking about short-term rental registration, we'll get to those questions in the next open to the public. So the last one here is there any other way to pay your taxes other than by mail or in person? In the past, you could pay online.
I would ask Jody to answer that.
So currently on the website under wellstown.org, there is a button on the homepage that says pay my taxes. The service that we use is through Inform Me, which is part of the state of Maine, and you're allowed to pay your taxes, but it is only by credit card. So users that are doing that, we use a third-party processor, so the 2.5% credit card fee is passed off to the user. So you're paying your tax plus that fee.
Okay, thank you for those questions. Keep them coming. Brittany, you can work on those, and we'll move on to current agenda items. That being discussion and action on committees, projects, issues, purchases, and personnel. So the first being discussion and action on accepting a $15,000 trade-in value for the Public Works truck. John.
Yes. First of all, is Carol Murray on the call, on the Zoom?
John, I can bring her in. I believe she was on here.
While we're doing that, Carol Murray, our Public Works Director, received this offer from the vendor by the name of Daigle and Houghton up in Bangor. They are a vehicle dealership. It's the dealership that won our bid for the replacement of Truck 1, which is the 10-wheeler that used to plow on Route 1. We replaced that with a 6-wheeler. At the time, Daigle and Houghton were aware of the 10-wheeler. They looked at it. They wanted to do a trade-in at that time. We didn't have it in the bid for a trade-in. And they came back with a offer of $15,000 for the vehicle. Is Carol there now?
I see.
Yes, I am, John.
You want to continue the story?
Yeah, for those of you that are familiar with the truck, it's Woody's truck. And it barely passed inspection this year, and only by welding the body to the frame did we get it to pass inspection. I made the mistake when I was first here of slamming the door pretty hard, and about 10 pounds of rust fell on the ground. So I'm amazed that they will offer us what I consider to be almost a generous $15,000 value for a trade-in. I think they probably have somebody up north that could use it. either a logging operation or a potato operation.
Other questions from the board?
No, I thought it was a good deal.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, I'll take a motion.
I move to authorize the town manager to trade in the 2005 GMC 10-wheeler to Daigle and Houghton for $15,000 and to replace the fund and to place the funds in the Public Works CIP Equipment Reserve 0701.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
5-0. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Next item is discussion and action to proceed with the notice to proceed with TPD Construction Company on the preliminary shop drawings for the proposed fire substation and to prepare the construction agreement for signing. John.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the low vendor in the construction bid for the new fire substation located out by the Public Works garage was TPD Construction out of Sanford. You authorized, the board authorized the fire chief, myself, our architect, Ron Lamar, to sit down and discuss with the president of TPD their bid, what it contained, and asked for what their agreements would look like. The president came back with with his agreement, which is being reviewed by the town attorney, and he talked to us about moving ahead and talking to the engineering of the building, the structural engineer, to go ahead and get some shop drawings for the building. And that's what's in the limited notice to proceed, to have him do that. The price is not to exceed $5,500.
Questions or comments from the board? Take a motion, Kath.
I move to authorize the town manager to sign a notice to proceed with obtaining preliminary shop drawings and other preparations for the fire substation at a cost not to exceed $5,500 and to prepare the construction agreement for signing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. Next item is discussion and action on accepting a fire pond easement from Weber Ridge Phase 2 off the Green Road.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is a fire pond easement where the developer is giving the town an easement to utilize the fire pond for public safety purposes. The fire pond, this subdivision is up on the Green Road, and it still needs inspection by the fire chief for certification that the fire pond is operating as it should. However, the town planner and the planning board and the developer have moved forward with this easement, and they recommend that the town Board of Selectmen accept this easement on the condition that it be signed at the time the fire chief certifies the fire pond.
So, and we would authorize you to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yep.
Go ahead, Kath.
I move to accept the fire pond easement from Paul Hollis in his Weber Ridge Phase 2 and authorize the town manager to sign it on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0 again. Thank you. Next, we go on to discussion and action on accepting the MMA Ed McDonald Safety Enhancement Grant Program awarded to the Wells Library for replacement of 17 smoke detectors in the amount of $1,265.30, representing 2/3 of the project cost. John.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this comes through the safety committee of the town. There is a grant program through the Maine Municipal Association, the Ed McDonald Safety Enhancement Grant, that Cindy Appleby, our library director, worked with the HR director who's on the committee and submitted an application for the replacement of these smoke detectors. And she received word the other day that she was awarded the grant. So a great deal of thanks goes to that work she did. And we ask the board to accept the safety enhancement grant.
Go ahead.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept the MMA Ed McDonald Safety Enhancement Grant Program awarded to the Wells Library.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you again. Next item was discussion and action on updates, personnel and committee assignments, resignations, and issues. We have the discussion and action on accepting donations and bequests. First, the only one here for tonight, there's a $200 donation from Kevin and Leslie Krebs to the town of Wells for the,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
we're working off the amended agenda, which has, hopefully you have.
Well, good.
what
I don't
did I
have an
miss?
amended agenda. We have the packet.
Did you have a report, John?
Well, it dealt with the scheduling of public hearing on a issuance of a bond in the principal amount of $4.5 million for bridge, seawall, and improvement projects. The agenda, I was pretty sure was mailed out yesterday. It was amended.
Okay.
It was emailed over.
Mailed out.
No, emailed.
It was emailed, yeah.
Okay. Well, I especially look at my email every single day. Whatever.
Well, maybe there's a reason why I skipped over to $4.5 million.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's sort of a big one.
I do apologize. We've been working awfully quick on 3 issues that we're trying to get on to the May, well,
You
get
think it
on
was
the July
yes-
14th town meeting.
Yesterday.
One was this bond issue that is now somewhat pressing because of additional seawall failure down on Webhannet that deals with the bridge over on Drake's Island, the casino seawall, the Pine Ledge Drive, and the Swamp John Road work. And that comes out to around $4.5 million. And instead of doing the bond issue in November, we were hoping that we could move it forward into the July town meeting.
Okay, I don't have it on my here.
So
Yeah, I don't have it here. Okay.
I have it here. You want me
Okay.
to?
Yes, you read it because I don't
Yeah,
have.
I move to schedule a joint public hearing with the Budget Committee for May 12th, 2020 at 6 p.m. on a Zoom meeting regarding a bond referendum ordinance in the amount of $4.5 million for infrastructure projects to be placed in the July 14th, 2020 town meeting.
Second.
Sorry, Ken.
That's okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you.
The second one that's added was a joint public hearing with the planning board on chapter 145, amending chapter 145 on the relaxation of the closing and opening times for seasonal lodging facilities as a result of COVID-19 shortening of the 2020 season. This was discussed over the last few weeks as a gesture by the Board of Selectmen to give to the seasonal lodging folks the ability to either close late or open early later this year and next year. And in order to do that, in working with the town attorney, the easiest way to do it is to put a amendment to 145 on the town meeting in July. And that's what we were attempting to do.
Any questions from the board on that?
Nope.
John, you want to read that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I move to schedule a joint public hearing with the planning board for May 12, 2020 at 6 p.m. on a Zoom meeting regarding amendment to chapter 145, the land use ordinance, to allow for the relaxation of closing and opening times for seasonal lodging facilities as the result of the COVID-19 pandemic shortening the 2020 season.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
John, Mr. Chairman, can I ask one quick question? With respect to that proposed ordinance, I drafted a shell of it, but what does need to be filled in are the time parameters on either side. I know that that will probably be taken up at the public hearing, but just something to think about, and perhaps we can take that up at the next, there's one meeting in between the public hearing. So I think I need a little bit of guidance as to how much time on either side. So just to plant a seed to think about, and to have that on maybe the next agenda, John, if that's okay.
Yep.
Okay, for the record, Cindy, that was a 5-0 vote. Third thing, John?
The third thing is we want to update the board on the seawall condition adjacent to the Web-Hannett Drive from the Lobster Pound at 321 Web-Hannett Drive to 337 Web-Hannett Drive. And we are suggesting strongly that we restrict the truck weight limit allowed under Chapter 212-4 of the Code of Ordinances to reduce the weight limit on the road to nothing more than 23,000 pounds be driven over that road between Gold Ribbon Drive to Eldridge Road. And I would ask maybe Carol, if Carol Murray, our Public Works Director, is still with us, if she could talk about how this came about.
Sure. I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes.
As I'm sure you folks remember, you gave John the authority to enter into a contract with Dubois and King, a structural engineer, to evaluate some of the critical structures in town, including the seawall and the Drake's Island Bridge. In doing the inspections last Friday, that engineer sent me some pictures, and the bottom, the toe of those sheets is crippled and it's starting to pull away. You can see cracks in the concrete. Now, we did go down this morning ready to do some test pits and found out there's a secondary wall there. So it's not, I want to be very clear, it's not unsafe for people to drive across it or to walk across it, but heavy loads could still, due to their vibration and their impact loading, could still cause further damage to the wall. In the meantime, the engineer is going to work to design a permanent fix. It was part of the FEMA disaster declaration from March 2 years ago. I was afraid that the fines behind that wall had migrated out in the storm, and it turns out that's what's happened. So I think in the interest of caution, it would be appropriate to weight limit the bridge. I would feel personally much better about that. So that's why we're bringing it to you folks, because Joanne and I talked at length, and we didn't think either one of us had the authority to do it by ourselves.
Well, if it's in that much of a disrepair, then I would certainly suggest that we cordon it off and take the necessary steps to protect the general public. And I would limit the weight, as you requested, to 23,000 pound vehicles.
I appreciate that.
The question, I guess, second to that is notification and getting people, how are we going to turn people around once they get there? If they have a a commercial vehicle that's 26,000 or over, where are they going to turn around? Excuse me, where are they going to turn around, Carol?
Yeah, it's pretty easy on the Gold Ribbon side because we have the parking lot. On the other end, they could come up and take a right instead of a left and go along the road that way and get themselves turned around. So it's not as bad as you might think. They're not going to have to interfere with, for example, backing in somebody's driveway. There are alternatives available. And I'm sure that PD will put it on their Facebook page and we'll do as much as we can to get the word out.
We'll also have the signboards, I hope, down there.
Yeah, signboards, and we'll put some signs up. It's such a short section that I think it would be regular traffic generally that would use that piece of road, not so much the heavy loads, but it would be nice to know that they weren't going over that area.
And also just to keep in mind for the general public as well, that that's going to be covered under the FEMA at 100% from the last storm in 2018. So that's also something that looking forward, people don't have to worry about that as a problem financially.
Correct. I was kind of surprised when Paul and I were meeting with FEMA that we were able to say that we were concerned about the wall, didn't know that we could address our concerns until we could put some time and distance behind us and do some exploration. So luckily it is covered, and I appreciate you checking on that for us, Chief.
No problem.
But we will still have to pay up front.
Yes.
Yes, it's a reimbursable program.
Henceforth, the reason for the 4.5.
Yep. We'll see our money, but it could be a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we potentially do have some issues at the casino seawall as well on the north side. But nothing is catastrophic. Nothing is going to fail tomorrow or tonight. We've taken all reasonable and prudent measures to protect the safety of the public.
Do you need a motion on this, John?
Yep, I
Yes.
got one. I move to restrict the truck weight on Web Hannah Drive from Gold Ribbon Drive to Eldridge Road to 23,000 pounds until further notice while the damaged section of the road and seawall are assessed and repaired.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, John, that we've missed? Are we on to donations and bequests?
We're on donations.
Okay. Donation that we have for tonight is a $200 donation from Kevin and Leslie Krebs to the town of Wells for the COVID-19 We Are Wells Fund.
I move that we accept the generous donation and write a letter of thanks to the donor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you. Next, we have discussion and action on approving the minutes of the April 21st, 2020 Selectmen's meeting. Any corrections or changes need to be made in the minutes.
I move for approval of the April 21st, 2020 Selectmen's meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you. Another good job, Cindy, thank you. Next, we're on to new business. For the second time, we're open to the public. Brittany, I'm sure you have at least one question there for us.
Can I just interject real quick before Brittany
Sure.
starts? I just want to address one that I've seen a million times, and it's getting kind of frustrating about the beaches, asking why are we doing everything fear-based and why are we working with other towns? The question is, why wouldn't we work with all the other towns? If we're the only ones opening up, then all we're doing is harming us. Everyone on this board, I think, wants to open up the beaches, but we have to coordinate with the surrounding towns. It's not fear-based. That's just not true. So we have to coordinate so that way just one beach isn't open. Old Orchard Beach is open right now, but from Kennybunk down onward through Maine, we're all trying to coordinate right now. So we're doing the right thing for our whole community down here. Unilateral decisions are not smart, and it's not fear-based. It's just not smart to make a unilateral decision like that.
Sure.
And with regards to sorry, John, I just got one other thing that it's been annoying me. People saying that we're destroying the economy right now. We didn't make this 4-stage plan that we've outlined for you. We're addressing all your questions the best we can with regards to the governor's orders that haven't even come out yet. She gave guidelines. The orders are coming out Thursday. We're not the ones destroying it. We're trying to interpret it for you the best we can. So, I mean, we're doing the best we can right now, trying to address things that are unclear. So please just try to bear with us as we try to process this with you.
I'm glad you brought that up. And I want to put a little history on this. The beaches thing came to be because we had a busy weekend, and we've gone over this before. We had a busy weekend in the midst of a pandemic where everybody acted like nothing was going on. I'm watching everybody talk about rights and this and that, but in this country, your rights come with responsibilities. So no one wanted to take it seriously. This is where we ended up. The not sitting in the parking lot deal is not the town of Wells's deal. That's a byproduct of the state government passing not the state government, but the governor rather, putting in place the mandatory travel only or whatever it's called order. So to keep going on about this stuff, look, we don't want to close the beaches. We don't want the restaurants closed. We're trying to deal with this. If you want to get somewhere with this, reach out to the governor, later, do something. None of us want to see this go on. So to sit there and say, oh, the town of Wells is doing this. No, we're not. We had to close the beaches because if York did it and everybody else did, then where's everybody going to go? Here. They're going to come flood here. I keep seeing things that are going through here with people going on about, oh, this is fear-based. We don't have reliable data. They are only testing sick people. We don't even know how many people are sick. So to say that it's a 0.7% incident rate is a lie. It's not a fact. We're not going off of that. We have to look at the bigger picture. So it's trying to make an intelligent decision and give us time to come up with the answers that we need. So that's pretty much where we're at with it. I think that's where I'm at with it anyway.
Thank you, both.
Brittany?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, there are still a lot of questions coming in about what defines lodging and when seasonal owners can come to the community. Would you prefer that we do?
Can I make a suggestion? Is there a way, John, that we can just post on the website every lodging facility in the town of Wells? And then
Yes.
you can access it from the website, and that includes the 3-season cottages, whatever we've determined, the RV parks that are considered lodging, just post it on the website. If we can get it to it tomorrow, that'd be great. And people can look at it, and that's lodging for us. It's our rule.
Sorry, guys, can you hear me? Sorry, I was having audio troubles.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did that question come through, or do you want me to repeat?
No, we
We're
tried
gonna-
to answer it.
We're going to try to post it on the website.
Okay, and we can make a Facebook post about it as well.
Great.
Okay. There was a question here from an essential employee at Hannaford. The question is, I've been given a plastic face shield, but per the governor's guidelines, it specifically states that fabric masks should be worn. Can I assume that my plastic shield meets that requirement?
I think that's for CDC. I don't think that's something that.
Yeah, I'm leery about answering that.
You can go on the state's website and ask the questions. I would definitely do that.
All right. A couple questions about beach stickers. What is the price of the beach sticker this year?
The beach sticker is $40 to taxpayers.
With the delay in things opening for seasonal lodging, will beach passes be prorated?
No.
A few questions regarding short-term rental registration. Does this short-term rental registration license include those who rent through Guernsey?
I think what that's too early for us to tell where these facilities are actually using as platforms for rental. They could be using Guernsey, they could be using Airbnb, they could be doing a number of things. This company that we may subscribe to following the ordinance being implemented, if it is, checks out 60 to 70 websites that are used for short-term rentals. If Guernsey is part of that program and it's detected, then they would be part of this whole program, but it doesn't mean I mean, all it says is someone's using Guernsey to do a short-term rental.
Next question on that was, where can we get a copy of the proposed draft ordinance for short-term rental regulation?
Once the public hearing is posted, it will be part of that.
Okay. A couple other general questions. Can we kayak beginning May 1st?
Yes, you can go down to the boat launch and launch your kayak down at the harbor, off Harbor Road. Park for free and enjoy yourself.
Is there any way to obtain a marriage license?
Yes, absolutely. There is something called a form by the name of intentions on our website, I believe, Jody. And you fill out it's entitled what it is. You intend to get married, and you fill it out, submit it, and then the town clerk will make arrangements with you to come in and fill out the rest of the paperwork.
Dawn, was that Emily? Was Emily asking that question?
No, we are actively thinking about it though. But it's coming up soon.
All right, it's the best question of the night, I gotta be honest with you.
Shame on you, Tim.
Another question on beach stickers. Are they by mail only?
The program, we are hoping that 80% can be done through the fulfillment automation system. But I don't want to speak for Jody. She can speak. There are mooring permits that will be issued from our office, as well as some others from here too.
That's correct, John. We do have a small supply of the beach stickers in office. Until we open, we would be doing them by mail only. And while we're talking about beach stickers, can we just clarify that we don't issue refunds for those? So if somebody purchases a beach sticker, it is in the policy that we do not issue refunds. So if they don't use it, they wouldn't get a refund.
That's the end of the questions, Brittany?
Sorry, I was on mute. Next question, is the town offering an extension for tax due dates?
Yes, we did that last week. Taxes were due April 11th and payable May 26th. We are extending that, or did extend it, to June 26th without penalty.
Is the town aware that the steps to the beach at the end of Crescent are in hazardous condition?
Yes, we are, and that's why we put in metal steps each year. The steps are scheduled to go in next week. If you were here last year, you would have seen the new steps. We take them out because of the heavy storms in the winter, and we try to have a sign up there that says use at your own risk without the steps there. We are scheduled to see the steps coming in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Not so much a question as a comment. Public Way 4 seems to be the only public way without a beach mat. This person was asking if we could get a beach mat for Public Way 4.
My memory might be failing me, but I think Public Way 4 is also used to access a driveway to a house. And we will certainly take a look at that again, but I think that is problematic right there. And I would ask Carol if she remembers that too.
Next question here. Can the town hall potentially post a link to small businesses that are in trouble or not knowing where to turn in this moment?
Certainly, we can do that. We do have one or two postings under COVID, I believe, for the Small Business Administration. Your direct access, best access, quite honestly, I have found is by calling the Biddeford office of either Senator Collins or Senator King. Those people are very well aware of all of the programs and can directly help small businesses in finding the right program for them to use.
All right. I think that was everything aside from the things that we already discussed, and we'll post after the meeting. If anyone else has anything that I missed, feel free to add that, but I think I've got everything.
John,
One
there was
question
one
that
I
was
saw.
asked was
Oh,
about
go
the,
ahead. Go ahead, John.
oh, sorry, Sean. In regards to the closure of that section of the road, you will be able to get oil deliveries. Essential things are allowed, so don't worry, those things will go on.
John?
There was questions about if you own property that is directly on the beach, can you access the beach from your property? I think we addressed that last week, but I see a lot of questions on that one.
Yes, you can. It's particularly in Moody. The Moody is a private beach. What is public is the public right-of-ways. So those oceanfront homes certainly can use the beach. Everywhere else, it is true that you can go out and utilize the beach also.
If that's it for questions, thank you for all the ones you have submitted. I hope we answered them as best to our ability that we could. We should have some more information next Tuesday night when we meet once again. So thank you for that. We'll move on to the town manager's report if you have one, John.
The only report I have is we've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers and the state, and Mike York, our harbor master, and it's been a off again, on again situation with the Army Corps' Currituck dredge boat. Right now it's on, and we hope to see it in this summer do a maintenance dredge of Wells Harbor entrance channel. It's a great boat. It's 168 feet long, and it is. It appears extremely large when it gets into the main pier, and we appreciate the Army Corps' efforts in making this happen, if it does happen this summer.
Great. Any other comments from the board?
I have two, Carl, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
One, I'd like to thank both Chief Putnam and Chief Dupuis. Sorry. I was getting it. You got to give me a second. I'm getting old. They helped out. There's a lady that lives in the neighborhood by me, a very nice lady who is working 16-hour days at Mass General as a nurse, comes home, drives the 2 hours home, gets a few hours sleep and goes back. And they did a little thank you tour the other night Friday night at 7, and both departments cooperated and helped out. And to watch her on the steps crying in her PJs because her husband had to wake her up to come out to see it was really a great thing. And it's nice that this town does things like that. So thank you both for that cooperation last week. The other thing I'd like to say is just real quick, I was disappointed in another thing the governor didn't do or whatever, is that, last week on one day alone, we lost 5 veterans in a home to this virus. We lost 12 total in Scarborough to this virus at the Scarborough VA home. I wish we could fly our flags at half mast when these things happen. These guys, it's very sad. But I just want to say, to all vets and to everybody out there, thank you very much for your service. It breaks my heart every time these things happen. And I just, but I was proud to see I think it's called Rolling Thunder. I'm sorry if I have it wrong, but there's a motorcycle group that went up there last week and did a drive-by kind of thing and waved to the veterans that are in the hospital. And I thought that was a great touch too. So I just want to say, my heart goes out to those guys living in that home right now, and hopefully they get better and things get better up there. So that's it for me.
Well said. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I got something real quick. I just want to take a minute to remind everybody about the actual importance of civics. Now, I know that we're a town board, but when we get correspondences, we read through them. We might not respond to all of them, but we receive them. I think that now is the most important time that we've seen in our lifetime. Reach out to your elected officials. Reach out to your state reps, to your state senators, federal, the governor. If you don't agree with something that was done, reach out, make your voice heard. Because if we all sit around, no one contributes, no one reaches out, you're going to maintain the status quo. If you're unhappy, reach out to someone and make it known.
And that doesn't just mean post on Facebook complaining. If you reach out to us directly, especially us at the town level, you're very likely to get your question addressed, maybe not directly in a response email, but it'll be addressed at the meeting. I can't think of any emails that we just ignore and don't address at a meeting. We almost always can either resolve your issue or address it in some way with a future change.
And just know, anybody that's sitting there frustrated with the state tonight, and this is my personal opinion, I've been just as frustrated with them through this whole thing that we've been dealing with on the board. Anemic responses, no means of communication, no statistics coming out. So if you think you're frustrated, I'm equally as frustrated. So it's not just you. You're not sitting there alone. I'm not callous or indifferent to it. And I'm sure the rest of the board isn't either. I just don't want to speak for them. So.
Anything else? Take a motion to adjourn, Kath.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
5-0. Thank you. Good night. Stay well.
Thank you. I'll get you the information, Tim, that you asked.
Thank you.
Take care, folks.